Hi guys and welcome back to Christian Casts where I build baits so you don't have to. Today's going to be an interesting video. We're going to be not doing anything towards lures or baits. It won't be unboxing. It's going to be more of a side project that I've been working on because I actually want a curing station because I work with UV epoxy and you always have to harden it out with a UV light and the UV light is always quite unhandy for your eyes. So I always use protective eyewear that you actually don't damage your eyes. So it's quite important that you actually make something that you can enclose completely because then you are out of danger. And I just want to show you what I have planned. It somehow escalated a little bit. So we can. I've got a little bit of a motor. I'll go into that anyway. We've got a motor controller. I'll also be talking about how I'm going to be mounting my UV panels. I'm still going to order two separately. That we've got a little bit more. That it really is quite strong. And we are going to go through the build entirely. And I'm just going to show you guys what I thought and things that I want to still do and maybe change things that I'm struggling a bit with. But I've got a first prototype that we'll be testing in the end. So I'll straight away pop you guys over. I don't know how I'm going to do it with the filming angle because it is really big, as I said. But I've got a separate table where it's going to be standing, so that's going to be okay. And I'll straight away pop you guys over and we'll go through everything, what I printed, what I'm using. We'll be threading through the main bar today as well, and we'll see if we can get a lure turning straight away. And then we'll also go into things that I'm planning for the next weeks. And if you're interested, you can always leave a comment. I'll maybe take you guys with anyway and show you the development of the whole design itself. If you're interested in any parts or how I printed things, please also tell me because I can make a separate video to that. And I'll quickly get you guys over and we'll start the main video and I'll show you around our curing box. So now you actually see bird view down to our curing station. I'm just going to show you shortly. We'll look at the motor then separately. So you can actually start the motor controller and heighten the turning speed. We won't be using 100% ever, I'm pretty sure of that. So that is just a little bit to the motor, but I'll show you the box itself then separately. We also printed a lid with some brass bushings that you can actually use for getting a thread into 3D prints. I'll show you then anyway. So they're thread inserts. I used them here and also on the motor controller. The motor controller I won't be taking apart today. If you're interested, I can make a separate video to that, how everything is cabled in there, what I used. If you want to order it yourself as well, I'll maybe make a part list. But today we're just mainly focusing on the rough outside of our curing station. I made these panels already for the sides here, that we can really enclose the whole thing. These are the UV lights that we'll also be talking about today still, because I have to decide how I'm going to be mounting them on our wood panel in the future, and we'll be doing some 3D printing for that. And now you just see the base. So my first idea was I would actually like to use something that if UV resin drops down or normal resin drops down, it is easy to clean and anything like that. So I actually got a stainless steel oven insert, so a baking tray actually, and then I used these aluminium E-temp profiles. So you've got these 4 grooves. They are very easy. You can change it up quite quickly. You can heighten the whole thing or push it down. They really come in handy when you are doing tables, or I also made my main desk has also got quite a lot of that because they are just very pleasant to work with, and they had the groove already where the baking dish is inside. Then we'll actually be adding this stainless steel rod today. I made a insert, there is a ball bearing here. I'll show you then afterwards, and it will be standing over just like that. And then I'm still struggling a little bit with a mounting system for my lures itself, but that we'll also look into today because I've got the first prototype what I want to test and see if it actually works. So this is going to be the whole setup, and then we are going to be using these. I actually imprinted a magnet, and we can put them on lengthwise or like that. So you've got two ways of mounting it, and that is due to me not being sure how to actually, I might be using pliers like this, or I might be looking into going into the grip pliers that we use anyway for airbrushing, because then it would be handy that if I've got a mount here that can magnetically just place into our holder, you can actually use this while airbrushing. Once you finish airbrushing, just snap it on and let it cure. So that is something that I'm still looking into, but these are quite heavy. This would be a bit easier because, as you see, if we mount it like this, you can mount it like this. You can add your plier this direction, and if you mount it like this, you can actually add it in this direction, depending on which direction you want the lure to face and how big the lure actually is. So that we're going to be still talking a bit about today, but now I'll just swivel you over to the motor part, and I'll show you the box and enclosure where I put the motor in. We'll be mounting it as well straight away. And I also made a little adapter for the motor for our rod, that on one side it has the cutout for our motor itself, and on one side it just has our classic rod diameter. And then I added these thread inserts that you can push into, but as you see, I sadly ripped one out today already, so I made it a little bit beefier, and we're going to be finishing this one today and actually also straight away installing it, that we can actually test this. So I'll also be putting thread inserts in here, and then we'll be mounting that, and then we'll see if we are able to get our first lure spinning on our curing station. The next thing I'm going to be planning is our UV lights. So now I'll swap over to the other desk, and we'll get our inserts into our 3D prints, or I'll face you towards the motor. I'm not sure what I'll do next. So I'll see you soon, and keep tuned. So as you guys can see, I just bought this actually very cheap motor with a gear inside that you've got straight away power when you start the motor itself, and it doesn't have to struggle as much when starting off. And as you also can see in the 3D print itself, I added a ball bearing from the backside that actually helps this. Wait, I'll try to get it to focus. That helps our main drive to actually start our turning system. Then we've got the screws that actually goes directly into our gearbox, and it is a very snug fit. So I'll place our cables in the back, and then we'll straight away, I don't want to clamp anything in. So I'll get this set, and we'll try straight away. So it works, and now that I know it works, I actually also printed a lid that directly fits snugly into our print, and we have got our inserts that we can actually close this up. And I did the same with the motor driver itself, and with that you've got a closed off system, and the motor and the connection and everything is fine and protected from dust and paint and resin and stuff like that. So that was quite important to me, that I seal everything off that is in the box itself. That is important. And now I'll quickly add the screws from the other side, and then I'll get you guys back and we'll talk through the thread inserts and add them in our adapter for the main part of the turning rod. So I'll get you guys back once I screwed in these, and then we'll start adding some threads. So before adding the thread inserts, I still have to put in one of these skateboard bearings. They fit perfectly for what I'm needing. They've got a 8mm hole in the inside, and I'm using a 8mm stainless steel rod. And I'll just show you how it is very easy to squeeze them into place with one of these ordinary vices. And there we go. Our bearing is nice and flush in there. Perfect. So now I can check if there is a alignment issue. So we'll just put this in. Sorry for the noises, but as it looks, we won't be having a problem. So we'll test that then, still see if it makes any noises once we have the adapter ready. So I'll leave that just like that, and now we'll do the threads. So now I'm just going to show you guys, you often get these adapters for your threads, and you can just add that onto your soldering iron, and then we tighten this up. I'll be using this as a safe spot to put my soldering iron, and then we're going to be using these threads and we'll be placing them in our 3D print. So I'll heat this up and then I'll take you guys with straight away in a second. So it is heating up, and now I will get ready, and you actually just take it, and I've got a pre-drilled hole in a smaller diameter, and then you just slowly push it in. So as you guys can see, that is exactly how the thread then looks like. I'll be now adding 4, and then we'll be ready with this part. Then we'll still be doing the same for my prototype of the holder, and then we'll go ahead and install that all in our curing station. So I'll do this and get you guys back. So I'm deciding against this version because sadly there was a little bit of dirt still in, and now I put in the thread, and I don't know if it focuses, as you might see there. I actually can't get a screw in anymore, so I can't get the threads out anymore, so this part is a waste. But I have still got my old version that we'll just be testing today to see if it works, and I'll make a little bit of a beefier version for the next time I come over. And that's a little tip for you guys: always make sure these nozzles are clean, because otherwise you will have trouble with getting screws in. So that is that, and now we can add our screws, which will clamp down onto our motor side, and one will clamp on to the side of our rod, and through that we have got our own little version of a clutch, and we can use that. So we'll see how that goes. I'll quickly turn these in. make sure that they stand out as well, and then we'll see how it goes. So there they come out. Perfect. So I just wanted to show you guys that I made this prototype as I showed shortly earlier, where we can fit in these screws nicely from the side. They fit in flush, and you can screw them in to a second part right here. So we're going to be adding some thread inserts right here on the one side, and the other side will keep original, and then we'll test it out. That was just one of the drawings. If you want to imprint magnets, I would always go with a 0.2 tolerance if you want to really embed them, and I'll maybe make a video on that myself because it was quite tough and I was worried about the surface tolerances, but it actually turned out quite nicely on this side and on this side. So I might show you. If you're interested, let me know, then we can go into that as well. And now I'll just put the threads in quickly as I did right here, and then we can go over and mount it onto our lure turning system. There we go. So that is done. So you are in bird view again, and now we're gonna just add our lure holder. I'll then show you anyway how I thought it will then go. The next ones we can just screw on because I'm gonna make multiple ones once I know exactly how I want to do that. And now we're just gonna add our printed adapter and tighten that nicely. I could flatten the surfaces of the rod in that area that the screws have a little bit more to grab onto. That will do once we see if we get problems while turning and things like that. So that is going to be that part, and now we'll just go along and add it onto our motor. So that is on there nicely. Tighten down that still, and then we can go ahead and we'll put this one a bit off to the side and just start screwing everything tight. We'll then also see if we'll need a rubber insert in there just to add a little bit more of gripping strength on the bar itself, or if this is enough. So I'll just tighten this down gently. These screws aren't the best, but they were all I was able to get. And now I'll add this, and then we'll start it on. So as you guys can see, you can mount them like that or like that. That I would twist it still, that you've got a bit more power of the magnet itself. But the problem I ran into is with something like this. So I might actually still print something if you want to add it on. Right, I'll have to turn it off. If you want to add it on, the magnets aren't strong enough through the printed layer. But if we go ahead and add two like this, we would be able to also use our classic ones and even really speed it up. We'll never use this speed but they hold. So that is something that I'm still thinking about, how to best mount these on there. If you have any ideas, thoughts, concerns, want to see more about this, I'll still get you guys on the desk shortly and we'll go through how I can do that right here. I've got these UV panels and I'll be mounting two, one on this side, one on this side, and then we'll have two going looking down at the lures like this. And then we'll take all the cables, clean that up, go out to this side and make a separate switch where you can then switch on your UV lights separately, that once you've got everything closed and everything ready, you can close the whole entire thing, switch on the UV curing light, and you don't have to be worried about your eyesight anymore. So that is something that I want to do. And we'll also be taping all the wood surfaces from the box itself with a aluminium foil sticky tape that you can buy in hardware stores. I still have to actually buy it. Then we'll take off all the wood elements, seal them off with that sticky, it's like a tape foil, and we'll put that on the sides. And the mounting system that I was thinking about for the lamps themselves will be just drilling through the wood and actually mounting the lamps with help of their railings. So I looked at the railings, looked at which distances I need from these holes, because that means we can still move them a bit in this direction or that direction once they are mounted. And then we'll just make a little foot that has got holes that I'll be also again fitting with some of the thread fits that you can actually then put some threads in the 3D print and then actually screw it onto our wood lid. So that's the plan on that. And then we'll really see there's a lot of heat that gets generated from these. So I might also still make a little fan sitting under each UV lamp that actually blows the warm air that really generates here into the box itself, because that also helps the curing situation. So we'll see about that still, but it's got out of hand a little bit. I'm really looking forward to using it, and I'm also interested to see if the motor that I bought is too quick for what I'm going to be using it for, because you normally turn them very slowly, and I noticed that the motor actually isn't too good in slower speeds. So we'll see if we have to get another motor with a different gear ratio in the box itself, but I'll test that anyway and I'll take you guys with, and we'll see how it goes. So that would be the best way to go, and I'll get you guys back for a short outro and then we'll see what we've got planned for next week. Hi guys, and welcome back to the outro. So, what do you think of the curing station? Is it a bit overboard? I think it is. Have you got any ideas about the way I mount the lures? Because I think that is going to be the biggest struggle, that I actually really find something that I like to work with, or that I can really quickly change or directly use it after the airbrushing. So I actually would really like to use those grip pliers that I showed you at the beginning, because that would just be cool. I airbrush with them. They are really handy depending on which eye size I use. They hold very well. The lure is very secure. And I would like to use that and actually take it and use that in the curing station as well, because I think that would be the best way to go. And that's why I was looking into the magnet um, imprint thing that I've been trying now a bit. So I still have to plan a little bit and see how it goes. I'm planning on maybe doing another video with mounting the UV lights maybe next week. I still have to order the UV lights and see if they come in time. Otherwise, if you have any questions about the design itself, about the motor, I'll also be ordering a separate motor as well, because I think this one is a bit too quick. So I'm going to be looking for one with a slower RPM value. So we'll see how that goes and how this actually ends up turning out. I'll also be coloring it differently. I don't want the wood optic from the outside, so I'll be just painting it maybe black or something like that. Um, and otherwise the inside will be foiling. I'll also take you guys with on that. We'll do that once we also mount the UV lights, because we'll have to take off all the wood that I mounted already, and then we'll see that we get finished with this as soon as possible, that we can use it in our lure building system. So that's what we have got planned, and we'll see. I might push in a separate video, because if you saw a short of mine, I popped one up here or up there. Um, we've been playing around with foiling baits, and I found a foil that actually works, and I'm really happy that I did, because I ordered quite a lot and most of them didn't work, and I was really struggling. And the last one I actually then tried actually turned out to work. So we'll be playing around with that as well a bit. And also, why I want to do the lure curing station is it just gives me the chance to put out more lures, also more prototypes, because I don't have to hand harden one at a time, and I can really make small batches, I would say. So I actually even prepared some of the lipless crankbaits with a rattle, and we've got quite a lot of them. So we're going to be playing around with that design. We'll be foiling some of them. We'll be testing our curing station once it is done, and things like that. And otherwise, I just want to thank you guys once again for tuning in and joining me with a different video today. And I'm really interested in your input. Otherwise, keep on fishing and stay safe. We'll see each other for next week.